Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of OneMicNite Talk, the podcast that gives you real talk and hopefully inspires you in your day and in life. My name is Marcos Luis, and I want to thank everybody for joining us for this beautiful, beautiful start to the new year. Happy New Year to everyone. And I also want to make sure you share, like this video. So make sure you share this video with 5 of your friends right now, because we're going to be in a live chat right now. You know, we're there Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. And we want as many people to get as much information as possible. So today we're welcoming back our resident psychotherapist. His name is Shane Mark Tull. He's also the author of the book, The Mental Health Pandemic. And we're going to talk about getting life in order. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you? Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Good to be back. Yes. How was your New Year's?
New Year's was actually very quiet. This was probably the quietest New Year I've had in all the years. It was very just serene.
What does that say about us?
I know, right?
We're having like very quiet New Year's. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I like to go into the new year just very peaceful and very quiet. And you think about the things that you're going to accomplish for the year. I don't make New Year's resolutions, but I try to make New Year's goals. So there's some things that I like to accomplish throughout the year. Yeah. How about you?
Good. It was a little festive, but more so sedated. And I'm just grateful that we're into the new year. I have some goals and objectives. So I know what they are. And so far, I'm on that path. So, but mostly I'm just grounded and rooted in
Gratitude. I learned something a couple of days ago. I was listening to another podcast. It's called Yin Yang. It's a brand new podcast. And one of the hosts on the show, whose name is Tiana Smith, she said what she does for the New Year's is she makes goals per month. So you accomplish goals per month, and then once the year is over, you've accomplished all these things. And I thought, well, wow, man, that's a great idea. I think I'm going to try that. So like one month could be, service and giving. So everything you do in that month has to do with service and giving to people. The next month can be self-improvement in health. So you're making sure you're eating healthy and making sure you're doing everything to make your health better.
Correct.
Right. And so by the end of the year, you're still doing all the things that you've done that month, and you've accomplished so many things. So I think I'm going to try that this year.
I like that idea.
Great, right?
I think I have a similar approach, but I call them like objectives. So my goal may be by March or June, this is what I want. This is what I want my goal to be. But my smaller objectives are going to be by January I should accomplish this, and by March I should get April, May. So by June I'm like, okay, this is one thing I have accomplished halfway through the year. So it's really a good way of measuring your goals, but also making them attainable.
Yes.
I think we set lofty goals, but we don't have these objectives that we should implement that takes us to that goal. So I really like her analysis in terms of how you do New Year's resolutions and goals, because when your goals are attainable and sometimes tangible, it makes them they're rewarded, and once you accomplish one, you kind of build on that. It's good for your psyche, and it's really a good example of, okay, well, I can accomplish this. So that's a really good idea.
That's a great idea. And I think right now we're living in a society where everybody wants instant gratification for everything that you do. But in the long-term effect, what does it really accomplish? Because you find yourself not achieving those goals or those instant things that you want. So it creates a whole nother, pressure and other things on your psyche.
I share with my friends and colleagues that change is incremental.
Yes.
It's not monumental. It will become monumental over time, but change is really incremental. It's just little by little. And I also say that slow motion is still motion.
Yes. Yeah.
You're moving. As long as you're moving, even if Even if you're just crawling, hopping, whatever it is, as long as you're committed to that path moving forward, those are things that we can build on.
Absolutely. I think there's an expression that says something like a quote that says something like the fastest way to success is the slowest route.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And you just take your time.
Take your time.
And stay the course. Really, I think if there's anything I could share is to tell people, stay the course.
Stay the course. I
Stay
want to
the
talk
course.
about something that's kind of a hot topic in the news today. And we've been seeing a lot of it, and it's been trending on Twitter and everywhere you turn on the TV. And it has to do with the royals. And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how much you follow them. I don't know why I'm so intrigued and why everybody's so intrigued by the royals. But I want to talk specifically about the effect of what's going on Prince Harry and how he grew up. So in his younger years, in his new upcoming book that I think is out this week called Spare, some of it has been leaked, and he talks about his substance abuse with cocaine and cannabis. And I want to talk about the effects of that on people and why people use those. So we know from him, possibly from the trauma of losing his mother.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things that it could be. We can speculate. We also learn in this book that growing up as the second in the household, knowing that his brother William is the king, he suffered, you know, I don't even know how to say it, less things than everybody else, less than William, because William is the one who's next in line.
Mm-hmm.
So say, for instance, he had a smaller room. You always know going into the situation that you're in someone else's shadow. So how does that
Mm-hmm.
affect people when they're growing up? What kind of
You
effect
know,
does it have?
I there's a school of thought that we're all recovering from a childhood trauma,
Yes.
all of us. And I think with the death of his mom, I think that just think of you and I losing our mom at that age is traumatic and it impacts our lives forever. But to lose your mom in such a public platform, in such a public way, and it just never goes away. Ironically, you brought it up because just before I came on, I was looking at an interview where he was talking about on, from the time the accident happened until he was 23 years old. He told himself his mother had faked her death and she was somewhere off living, taking care of herself, and was okay. That is what happens when we're in shock. Our defense mechanisms just come forward, and that was protecting him. That was
Yeah.
protecting him from the deluge of the trauma. And no wonder that he would use cannabis and cocaine because when we're in pain, we medicate, we self-medicate, and we're not all the time, or we always are willing to reach out and get the help. And for our lives to be polarized and forecast on the world stage, literally on the world
Yeah.
stage,
Yeah.
that's overwhelming.
It
That's
is.
overwhelming. I'm surprised that he's not more malicious. I think his experience in the army taught him kind of structure and so on, and also the relationship that he has with his wife. I think she's been a very grounding force for him in what reality and real life looks like.
Right. You just hit another thing that I didn't even think about, which is a whole nother conversation. You know, people celebrate the fact that, we are victorious when we win in the army. What kind of trauma do people have when they come out of the army? That's a whole nother situation.
Definitely.
What kind of psychological effects do we have when we come out of the military?
Correct.
You know?
And those experience impact and compound our previous experiences that we had. So in going in the army, coming out, that's added trauma. You don't know what your life is going to be like. Any given day, you can open the paper and there could be a naked picture of you or
Yes.
something that you don't want the world to know, or of your wife. And I think the way that they have demonized her, and it's really unfortunate, but I really think my take on that, it's ironic it took a black woman to bring down the monarchy because it was her strength in her diligence. Like, this is not going to happen to my family. We are going to fight for my family. We're going to separate ourselves from this institution because really that's what it is.
Exactly.
And so we have to give her a lot of credit for being able to navigate that and maintain it. Because now that you're outside, you still have to maintain your privacy, your security, and all that stuff. But I really think that their children will be much healthier in this outside environment.
Yeah, you still have to flourish. Now, I heard a news reporter today. She was asked, "What do you think about the Prince Harry situation? Will he go back to the family and all that type of stuff?" And she was saying that it was interesting. This is a British reporter saying that it was interesting that he's doing this tell-all book, but yet he wants to go back to the family, and how it's sort of a breach of trust, and it's ironic that he would say he wants privacy, but yet tell everything.
Well,
So what
I
your
think,
thoughts is in that?
I think you can look at it. For example, I have families that would come to see me and they'll bring this one kid. So let's say it's a family of five. They bring this one child. The child is a symptom bearer. He's a problem. And they're all around this. When you start the therapy and you start seeing the child and seeing the family, hearing the stories, you realize this is the most healthy kid, the
Yes.
most healthy person in the family because
Right.
the kid is acting out the family drama. He is saying, the shit stinks, this is unhealthy, that's why I'm acting out, that's why I'm getting bad grades, that's why I'm asthmatic. There's always going to be a symptom bearer in the dynamic of family. And for Harry, he's the one he's telling the truth. In that, it does not mean that he wants to lose his family because that's a sense of belonging. I think he genuinely loves his family, but he's also honestly saying like, this is an unhealthy institution,
Absolutely. I
and
think that's
and
exactly
this
it.
has impacted my mental health.
Right.
And my move in a way was to protect my family from history repeating itself. And I'm very concerned that that may happen still.
Right. And for my health and for the health of my family, I need to
Yes.
separate myself from that and almost kind of unburden myself with the truth of what's happening
Correct.
so that I can
Correct.
live a truthful life, so that I can live my authentic life.
And
How do you
he's
think,
going to be the
how
one
do you,
that's flourished well. He's with being able to tell your story and get the validation that, and people hear you, people can relate to that. It's understandable. That should give him some comfort. Because I think when we're in these situations, we think we're crazy and we're in this alone. And that's the most important thing about seeking support. You recognize that there are other people experiencing the same thing.
exactly. What I've also found, going through the social media is that it seems like most of the Americans are siding with H&M, as they call them, Harry and Meghan, and
Mhm.
the British tabloid and British, society is sort of against them. I've
Mhm.
seen very few people that are with them, living their authentic life. I don't,
I think that honestly, the British press hates her. They always did. And in the beginning, they used to have these racist tropes, and he came out, called them out, and sued them and won.
yes,
So that really pissed them off. When it really came out in the documentary in the book that it was the institution that was feeding the press
right.
information on them. So I think it was Megan that said we were not thrown to the wolves, we were fed to the wolves.
What kind of
Yeah.
mindset does that prove to be for the British society? Because it's not just the British press. I think the British people are going along with it.
Mm.
I feel like most of the majority of the British people go along with that type of mindset.
because they don't want. I don't think they want to feel embarrassed. I don't think they want to. They don't want to accept that this institution's a hot mess, and it really is, and
It is.
it's a mess, and it's archaic and irrelevant. The monarchy needs to no longer exist. They need to go find jobs like Harry and Meghan,
Right.
like normal folks, and pay taxes.
Wouldn't it have been better if, they accepted her? That would have been the bridge to the modern world. Because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, and I want to dig a little bit deeper because I feel like it is like you said, it's archaic, but it's rooted in tradition. It's rooted in the roots
Mm-hmm.
of the way this world was formed. It's
And
rooted
imperialism,
in imperialism,
which is staunch in racism.
racism.
That's
Exactly.
all the wealth that they have accumulated is off the backs of people of other countries and poor people. People, and people that look like her. And I think she was very much aware of that going in there. So her goal was really to say, listen, we're not going to do things. Y'all are not going to manage me. You're not going to. I'm going to take full control of my destiny. And I think it was harder for them to manipulate her and handle her because of her background and her life and her lived experiences. She was a celebrity,
Right.
very bright woman. So she had a very good sense of self,
Right.
as opposed to Kate, who grew up in the in the shadows of that institution. So
Yes.
they were more able to manage her and put out a narrative about her that they wanted.
Absolutely. Not only an actress, but she was a women's advocate, a feminist.
Yes,
She
yes,
had businesses. She spoke at many
mm-hmm,
functions and,
yes,
helped raise money for the empowerment of women, which is
mm-hmm.
completely against what the firm and that institution is about.
Definitely.
Although you had a queen who was,
Mm-hmm.
the monarch, but it wasn't other women taking a stand and being in control of certain things. That's
Definitely.
not their role in society.
But I always got the impression that the Queen admired her.
Yes.
I really, and she said that. She said she thought the Queen was just a very nice old lady. And I think maybe she reminded the Queen of herself at her age. Which,
Absolutely.
you know, you gotta give to the Queen. She really rallied through so many presidents, and she was just dynamically changing through generations and culture and life. It kind of kept up. And
Right.
I think that when Megan came in, that would have just been such an added asset. Would have been this new era that really connect the monarchy with normal people.
The modern world. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's unfortunately it was a missed opportunity for them.
It really was. Going back to what I was talking about before with the use of drugs with Harry as he's growing up, how do we how do we help people? Those are I think those are called psychoactive drugs, like cocaine, because they're
Mm-hmm.
short term, get over, whatever you're
All drugs are
feeling in
bad
the
for you.
moment.
All drugs are bad. Yeah, all of
Right.
them. I'm, I've been having a conversation with a colleague of mine who, um, a family member of his, is really struggling with addiction, but also a borderline personality, and it's really, really hard to help someone in that space. And because most people with borderline personalities, I think they have very high IQs, and it's just hard. It's just hard to deal with. So how do you empower this parent to deal with this young person
Right.
when they're over 21? You cannot get them in a case petition. You cannot lock them away. They have rights. And so the mental health community, we're like, there is nothing we can do until this person decides to come and get help. Now, with a person that's just struggling with the addiction alone, that's a task. But you can more get that person to see the light, as opposed to someone that's, we call them dual diagnosed, that has a mental health and a drug problem. The 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 challenge is really hard, and addiction is baffling, controlling. It's helpless, and until that person realizes that you're helpless in the situation and willing to get help, that's the only reason. That's the only way you can get help. Because once you have to think of, once someone starts using drugs, let's say someone started using drugs at 15, if they stop using drugs at 40, developmentally, emotionally, psychologically, there's still that 15-year-old.
Right.
There's still that 15-year-old. And I don't know if you have any experience with people that like was on drugs for a long time and they went into rehab and they come out of rehab and they think that, the world should give them everything.
Right. Yes.
Because, I'm no longer using drugs, so I should be able to get this.
Mm-hmm.
No, because they started at 15 at that age when they think they should be getting everything and everything should be brought to them. Psychologically, they're still there. So
Oh,
working on that
it's another
helps
form
them.
of another form of trauma, I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah.
yes,
Where
yes.
you get stuck in, even if it's whatever, not just drug use, but like you said, it could be child abuse, it could be, some sort of
Mhm.
domestic violence or what
Correct.
have you. You're stuck at that age where the
Yes,
trauma
you are.
occurred.
When the trauma occurred, that's where you stop developing emotionally, sometimes psychologically. So getting help for someone that is in the throes of a drug crisis is really hard. It's really, but it's like staying with them and encouraging them. But also, it's about setting boundaries.
Mm.
One of the things that addicts are, they're very manipulative. And they'll make you feel like you're doing something wrong and you're not
Right.
helping them and you're not being there and just give them $25 and they'll come back and all that stuff. It's hard for me to support parents that are dealing with an addicted child. Because at the end of the day, that's their child. And when I tell them, well, if he comes home, hi, don't let him in the house. If he asks for food, call the cops. Set boundaries, don't give him money. But, telling a black parent to call the cops on a young black man in the throes of a drug crisis can turn out really catastrophic.
Right.
So, so all of those things you really have to think about when you give advice. And what are some safety precautions? And like, how do you support these parents with they love their child, they want the best for them, but this kid continuously brings them down and bring chaos and havoc to them. And they really have to just stand their ground. Like, you can't come in here. We're not giving you money. Maybe you need to hit rock bottom and then you get yourself together. But it's really a tough love situation.
It is a tough love. And I think that, we as parents, we think, well, what's going to happen to my child? Will my child end up dead or will they reach rock bottom and then eventually get help and come back and say, I want to stop this? We don't know.
You know,
That's the whole ambiguous, entity that's out there. We don't know.
yeah,
So we don't
we
know
don't
what
know.
to do.
So we keep the door open. We keep prayerful and encouraging, but just an asking the higher power for guidance and wisdom. It's a horrible, horrible place to be as an addict or as someone that loves an addict. It's the worst thing to do. Like I always say, anybody with any addictive personality, I will not. I can be your friend, but I don't want to date you. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're taking on a burden that, and especially it's hard for parents. But imagine being the spouse of someone or the partner of someone that, you know, maybe when you met them, they were in recovery, they were clean, they were doing well, or they never told you that they have a substance history. You become emotionally involved, and 6 months later, you find out, okay, well, this person got a problem. What do I do?
Right. And so what do we do? How do we support them once they come back to us? What do we do? Where do we go? Who do we call?
And you navigate them through the rehab process. There are treatment facilities. You could just type in drug treatment facility in my area. There are AA and NA groups meeting every hour of the hour throughout the world. In every zip code, there is an AA and NA meeting happening every hour. And sometimes you recommend that they go. Sometimes you may have to go with them.
Gotcha.
And so they could start reconnecting to a supportive community. And you could be very clear, I'm going with you because I want you to get better.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I still want to be in this relationship. It means that I want you to get better. So I will support that. And it's
Right.
very clear that the addict is clear that they're working on getting better for themselves, not for the relationship. So a lot of people do that. Like, okay, well, I'll get clean because I want to be in this relationship. It's important to me. It will fail
Right.
until you realize that I'm doing this for me.
It's
Come
important
hell
to
or
you.
high water, yeah,
Yes.
it's important to me. That's when it happens. But there are a lot of resources out there, and we have to be compassionate with people that are struggling with stuff. It's hard. But yeah, but I always believe that compassion and accountability can exist in the same space. Because I'll
Absolutely.
be compassionate, I'll give you all the resources you need, I'll walk you through the process, I'll hold your hand, but I'm going to also hold you accountable to stay clean.
Right.
And the day that you don't, then we are having another conversation.
And so we as family members and we as friends, we have a job to do as well. We have to be the
Yes,
support system. And support could be the number one thing they need. You know,
it
they
is.
decide for themselves. Yeah, they decide for themselves, but they need the support of the community around them to keep it going, to
And we
maybe
also have
make
to
the first step.
and we also have to be honest with ourselves and our friends. That if you know if you're sure that someone is having struggles with substances, have a conversation with them. Like I like and use facts. These are the things I've noticed in the last 2 3 months. This is not who you are. This is not the person I know. What's going on? What can I do to support you or engage the help of other friends and family members that are invested in this person's well-being and do an intervention? Like, listen, these are the things we're seeing. We're concerned. We want to offer you help. How can we help you? Now, they may cuss you out, and that's okay. But they may recognize that, hey, these are people that care about me. And so if they're going to support me, I'll do the best I can
And that's
to take care
hard.
of
It's
myself.
hard to find because a lot of people won't take that step and say, "Hey, listen,
Mm,
let's talk about what's going on with you." You know, especially
mhm,
like when you're living in the celebrity world or you're in TV
mhm.
media,
Yes.
you have all the yes people around you,
Yeah.
you know, and they
Sorry.
allow you to continue on with the drug use or
And and that just whenever I think of people like Whitney and Michael, Prince, such great talent, and how could it not be one person in their orbit that says, "Okay, you're a damn mess. You need some help. I'm going to get you the help you need." These people are in their world, and I understand that. Oh, this is the person that provides their daily living. But at what point do you say, but this is also a human being that I'm supposed to care about? And if I care about you and I can't tell you that you need help and find ways to help you, then do I genuinely care about you, or do I care more of the opportunities that I'm afforded because I'm in your orbit?
Exactly. Well, I think we should leave them on that note. Give us a thought for the week to take us through the week and how we can live better.
Persevere with compassion.
Persevere with compassion. Okay. I love it.
Persevere with compassion.
Okay.
It's the new year. We're all excited to accomplish new things, but stay on your path. Stay in your path. And when I say compassion, be compassionate to yourself and to others. Because we're very good at forgiving other people and being compassionate to them, but we're very hard when it comes to forgiving ourselves. And it's something we constantly work on. That you have to forgive yourself and you have to tell yourself it's okay. It didn't go right this time. I'll try it again. And maybe it takes 3 tries. But as we said earlier, slow motion is still motion.
Yes.
So we definitely have to stay there. So let's do that. There's another topic I want us to talk about, and maybe after we stop the recording, we can touch on that and probably prepare for our next talk.
Okay, let's save it for that then.
Yes.
Shane Mark Tull, licensed clinical therapist. I want to thank you for joining us again today, author of the book, The Mental Health Pandemic. Tell them where they can find you if they need to reach out to you. It's
on Amazon. I can be reached at tullcpc@gmail.com or 347-971-6929.
There you have it. Thank you once again. I know we'll see you back here next time. This is OneMicNite Talk. You can find us on all digital platforms. Go to Spotify, go to anchor.fm/OneMicNite Talk, and you can show us some love there. My name is Marcos Luis. Hit me up on Instagram. Send me a DM. Slide on into the DM and let me know what you think. MarcosLuis. You can watch this video on YouTube at OneMicNite. OneMicNite is spelled ONEMICNITE. And you might see my dog here in the background. This is Alan.
Yeah. Awesome.
We'll talk to you. See you later. Cool. OneMicNite Talk. We're out.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. I want to give a special thanks again once to licensed clinical psychotherapist Shane Mark Tull, and author of the book, The Mental Health Pandemic. He's our resident psychotherapist, and I want to thank him for coming to give us a mental health check every week. I also want to thank you, the fans, everybody who's listening to OneMicNite Talk and leaving the comments, subscribing and sharing the episodes, because I think we're giving some valuable information, and I hope everybody can benefit from it. Also, make sure you drop down below. I have a new store. It's called Azules EN. And take a look at what we have. It's complementing your lifestyle, mostly home decor items and things to help you live a better life, a couple of health things, and I think you'll like it. So make sure you shop there. Check out the top there because there's a discount on the website for the users, and see if you like it. All right, please make sure you leave a comment down below. I thank you for joining me for OneMicNite Talk, and look forward for season 4 of OneMicNite Podcast with Marcos Luis coming soon. Thank you very much. Later.